Greetings to all of you, and to those of you who happen to be saints, I bid you shalom. Welcome to this very, very critical, very important broadcast, because as you would know, that I have an interest, a vested interest in our Constitution, in it being respected, and more so with leaders or in leaders demonstrating that they have regard for the same. As you join, please indicate to me that you hear me clearly and see me clearly. I'm not in studio today, as you can know, as you would see, but I would appreciate that feedback. Thank you. And here we are. I'm monitoring our comments on another device just to ensure that I can see your questions if you have any, and monitor your comments. Now, you won't normally find me blocking people and stuff like that in my broadcast. It's nothing that I do or I see the need to do as often. So let's have this conversation. Once it's clear, we're good. And thank you. We're broadcasting on two platforms, YouTube and Facebook. So just let me know whether you hear me clearly and see me clearly on both. So somebody from YouTube who's on YouTube, you can check. Let me know, please. And I would appreciate that. We're speaking to the Constitution is disregarded by the PPPs. The Constitution is disregarded by the PPP. No, the Vice President. And they're back with the nonsense because they've been allowed to do so. And so I welcome you all. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me. Welcome to you. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Good. Thank you so much for the feedback. Appreciate it. If you don't mind, you can share the broadcast or tag someone, whatever you do. I would greatly appreciate that. But we're speaking to the disregard that the PPP has for our constitution. Now, let me just share this with you. There's a systematic approach, and you know that my position is always about educating you, which is why I'm in the people's movement has now coalesced with VPAC and with Forward Guyana, becoming Forward Guyana movement. And as a coalition, one of our ultimate goals and mission is to inform Guyanese, to educate Guyanese, and to ensure that you understand what is proper, what is right, and what is legal and lawful in our country. Misinformation is very dangerous. And when an individual is misinformed, then that which is actually inaccurate, untrue, improper, sometimes because of political associations, you believe that that's acceptable. And this nonsense, this absolute nonsense that the PP is doing, it's starting with Irfan Ali, of course, who has no regard for law. And what they do is they try to give you the impression that they could do whatever they want to and make it legal. Now we have or would have had an attorney general in the person of Anil Nandlal, who seems to wants to be touted, or people try to make him appear to be this legal guru, this legal luminary. And Anil sat there and watched Irfan Ali and Barajagio, when most of Barajagio disregard the Constitution. What is even more telling is that the US, the UK, Canada, and other places have sat there and participated in the disregard of our law because the US doesn't care about our law. They don't have to respect anything regarding Ghana's law. The UK doesn't have to respect and value our laws. They would value theirs because they're citizens of those territories. They don't have to respect anything regarding our law. So they would play along with any game that affords them the right to enjoy our resources and benefits from political ballet, I call it, dance around the place, hop around our laws and politics. They enjoy that because it works in their favor. Once they're able to suppress what is right, and they're able to facilitate wrongdoing, then they know that the PPP would owe them a lot. And that's how it goes in what you call geo, which speaks of space, geopolitics. Now, it is unfortunate that Guyanese will have to sit and be compelled to echo things or say things that are actually unconstitutional. Now, what is the catch in this? The PPP knows that the sheepish mentality that governs our politics is that people would be willing to repeat things even if it's wrong, just because they're in a political circle. The trouble further is when it's compounded when we have in the National Assembly, we call the Parliament, parliamentarians who are called legislators. That is the legislative arm of governance. They make the laws. They would stand there and repeat something that's unconstitutional. Now, how do you stand? How do you swear? How do we swear that we're going to uphold the Constitution? You swear that you will uphold the Constitution without fear, without favor, without malice, without ill will. You swear to do this. And then in the same breath, you speak about the vice president, which actually is unconstitutional. I will show you evidence today to further bolster and support the point I'm making. And I will pledge to all Guyanese that I will never refer to Barjagli as the vice president because he's not the vice president. It takes the voice of one, as you see in Nepal. It takes the voice of one, as you saw in Dr. Martin Luther King. It takes the voice of one, Marcus Garvey. It takes the voice of one to create a significant change in any situation. Yohanan, his name is never John. Yohanan, who was announcing, behold the Lamb of Yahweh, who takes away the sin of the world, the voice of one. Yeshua, the Messiah who came, the voice of one. There is something about one person standing without fear. I would not refer to him as the vice president because he's not the vice president. He's Bara Jagdeo. Now, whenever they decide to give a ministerial portfolio to him, and they say which ministry he's in, fine. Whenever they decide to add a number, a numerical value to to that position, which would be Mark Phillips, and I'll show you. Again, I'll show you because this is not sitting well with me. To know that in the office of the president, this man in the office of the president, the highest office that can be held by a Guyanese citizen, in the office of a president, our laws have been disregarded yet again. Please pay attention to this. And then we're going to dissect it further. So let us read what let us talk about this state here. Vice presidents. The president, so then I'll go to another slide to show you because I put this one first on purpose. The president, that's Article 1021. The president may appoint vice presidents. Now, please pay attention to that. All right? You're in class here this morning. The president may appoint vice presidents. Now, do you notice in our law, in our constitution, there's another bylaw. In our constitution, when it speaks to the structure of government, it says that the president may appoint vice presidents, plural. It doesn't say the vice president. Please pay attention to that. There's no law, and I will challenge this in the court if I have to. There is no law in our nation that speaks to a vice president. The president may appoint vice presidents, for the purpose of assisting him in the discharge of his functions. If he is not otherwise, Article 1022 now, if he is not otherwise the holder of an office of vice president, the person holding the office of prime minister shall, by virtue of holding the office of that office, be a vice president. Look at this, not the vice president, be a vice president, and he shall have precedence or authority over any other vice president. Look at that. He shall have precedence, which is higher rank, over any other than any other vice president. Where do you see our law speaking to the vice president here? If you want to be unconstitutional, then Mark Phillips he could be called the vice president. But do not come to tell me nonsense that Barra Jagdeo is the vice president. He's not. Now, what I find to be most frightening is that this gentleman stood and read, I'm going to reverse now, read and cited or made a reference to our constitution. In the office of the president, he did that. Taking it to an article of the constitution and still disrespected it when he got through reading it. That's the part that's dangerous. He made a reference to the law, made a reference to the constitution, and still disregarded it when he was done, just to please Bar Jagdeo. Article 1032, that's what he spoke to. Subject to the provisions of Article 1011, so we have to go to that after this. Vice presidents, plural again, and other ministers shall be appointed by the president from among persons who are elected members of the National Assembly or subject to subparagraph 7 of paragraph 3A of Article 160 are qualified to be elected as such members. Now, Guyanese brothers and sisters, let me take you to the other Article 1013. Look, the Prime Minister and every other Vice President shall be a minister of the government of Guyana. Okay? I'm just reading law for you, please. Law here. Let's deal with the law, the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Let's deal with the law, the Constitution, the supreme law. Isn't that what they tell you all? Okay. Now, I said I did it in reverse. So let's go back to where this began. The gentleman in speaking to Mark Phillips and his being sworn in said the president shall appoint an elected member of the National Assembly to be Prime Minister of Guyana, provided that a person who is not eligible to be elected as president shall not be eligible for appointment as Prime Minister. So that's why Barra Jagdeo cannot be Prime Minister, because according to the two-term rule, Barrett cannot be Prime Minister because the Prime Minister must be somebody who will act as president. So Barrett cannot be Prime Minister. Now, brothers and sisters, enemies and friends, it requires a significant degree of corruption and disregard for your own nation for a president to sit there and support the violation of law, the contravening of it, the breaking of it. They don't even care. And Guyanese will sit, that's why I have to call some of house slaves, because you will sit there and repeat that, knowing all of you lawyers, you know that this, if in the PPP, you know that this is unacceptable. If you're a lawyer in FN, in PLP, in the Bahamas, in AFC, PNC, wherever you are, you know that there's nothing called the vice president in our nation's law. And you repeat that. Y'all will echo this nonsense. He is Bharat Jagdeo. Even the House of Assembly shall be called Bharat Jagdeo, or I will ask the Speaker, or we for Guyana movement should ask the Speaker of the House to tell us what to refer to him as and show us in the Constitution why he must be called the Vice President. It would not be an easy time for y'all with for Ghana movement because I know my sister Manzo Walton is here. I know how up for Ghana movement is. So it would not be any easy day for y'all. We're going to get this right. What is the vice president? I came to sit with you this morning for us to really get this clear, for us to understand what's happening to us as a people. It is dangerous for anyone to make you believe that you could sit there, disregard our law, and then tell us to obey it. So why do we have laws in the first place? I'll be back with you. I'll be back with you, but I want you all to see. I just came in to show you this morning the danger that we face when you tolerate foolishness from these people. I just want you to see what we're dealing with when we tolerate nonsense from these people. There is nothing in our constitution, nothing, absolutely nothing, nothing that affords anybody being referred to as the vice president. Look again. Look at it again. Look at it again. Article 101, 2 of our constitution. The president may appoint vice presidents. It's plural for a reason, not singular. It didn't say the president may appoint the vice president. Now, Anand Nandlal got up in court and said that, oh, those who were framing the constitution, they were very deliberate with every word they chose. Well, Anand, they deliberate with this too. Because the people know how to play around with your head. Those who made our laws, the Burnham Constitution, as people call it, they were very deliberate. So when they said that the president may appoint vice presidents, they were deliberate, not the vice president. In the United States of America, you have the president and you have the vice president. So Vance is the vice president. In Ghana, we do not have that terminology. We don't have that legal vernacular. What we have is the president, the prime minister, and you have vice presidents, not singular, because the prime minister is automatically a vice president. So if the president chooses to appoint another person that become the second vice president, we have room for 5. I am not tolerating this nonsense. I will not be accepting of stupidness. And Bar Jagyo cannot make me call him any vice president because he's not. So the president may appoint vice presidents for the purpose of assisting him in the discharge of his functions. CARICOM leaders refer to this man as the vice president because they all play along with the stupidness. Since they know that when they pander to narcissists, they get what they want. Now, if the prime minister is not the holder of an office of vice president, the person holding office of prime minister shall, by virtue of holding that office, be a vice president automatically. Automatically, the prime minister of our country becomes the first vice president. That's why it's called, he has precedence over every and any other vice president. I am challenging every Guyanese to speak right, speak the right thing, say the right thing, uphold the law. We have sworn to uphold. I pledge myself to honor always the flag of Guyana and to be loyal to my country, to be obedient to the laws of Guyana, which speaks to this. So how can we obey the law when they do stupidness? Article 1013, the Prime Minister and every other Vice President shall be a minister of the government of Guyana. Is Bharat a minister of the government of Guyana? Is Bharat Jagdeo a minister? No. He's referred to as the Vice President. So he's not in charge of any ministry. That's how disrespectful these people are. And some of you tolerate this nonsense in the name of being of just having an opportunity to get contracts, an opportunity to have some benefit. It is nonsensical. So I have put it on record. Let this be known that I am speaking here in protest. I shall never refer to Bajali as the vice president because he's not. And some of you in the opposition who seek to speak and to challenge him, you are, the moment you say the vice president, you have weakened your position because you've shown the PPP that you're prepared to speak their language. The moment you say the vice president, you have weakened your position because you've shown the PPP that you are prepared to subject yourself to their illegal, unconstitutional behavior. Is that what you all want to do? What about if every member of parliament, Azid Mohammed being the leader of the opposition, as it may be, because he has to be elected to that post, why do we not together agree that we will not call this man the vice president? Do you know how tortured Barrett will be? If every member of the opposition decides you're not going to report him by this nonsensical foolishness, do we abide by the laws of our country? How could Barjagyo swear that he will uphold the Constitution and he is chosen to violate it? Now, because they wanted to position Barajaglio above ministers, so he wouldn't be called minister of anything, minister of finance, minister of agriculture, minister of home affairs. They didn't want to do that. So they decided that to put this narcissist above everybody else, they refer to it by another term that's never been used in our history. In Guyana's history, the term the vice president has never been used. In our history, this term, the vice president, all the years of independence, almost 60, we have never used this term to describe a person's position. What makes him so special? I tell you what, it is narcissism. I am saying to you, Azuddin Mohammed, do not refer to this man as the vice president. Because they do that, I have no respect for you. Listen to me. I share with you. I don't cut corners. If you, being the official leader of the opposition, if you're nominated to that position, if and more likely you have 60 seats, you may be voted into that position. Listen to me. I will have no regard for you and anyone else who stands in our sacred hall of law, and you decide to call this man the vice president, I'll have no respect for you all. I'm telling you from now, because you will show me that you prefer to respect a man more than you respect the law of your country. And it will tell me that you compromise, because if you're not compromised, you'll speak what the law states, which is that every vice president is a minister. What ministry does Barajag have oversight of? Can you tell me? This is the most lawless we've ever seen in our country. And because they see they could do things and get away with it, they continue to do it to you because you don't stand up for anything. Let us protest. Secondly, we're not going to the House of Assembly to anybody being called senior minister within the office of the ministry with responsibility for finance. What foolishness is that? He would not be allowed to read the budget. Ashley Singh, he would not be allowed to read the budget because the budget must be read by the finance minister. Or if not, then whoever is appointed to read it, fine. We need to know in reference to the Natural Resource Fund Act, that act with oil involved, it says that the Minister of Finance will appoint the board. So who's the Minister of Finance? You all are playing around with people's lives, playing around with our law, and we are not inclined to accept that. It's not going down like that here. So are you prepared in this next parliament to stand and uphold the law of our country? Or are you afraid that Bart has some secret for you so you cannot stand? What is it? What position are you in? Are you prepared to stand and uphold the law? Or are you afraid? Huh? Let me put it here again so the people could get angry and start blowing a fuse this morning. Anil Nandlal said that whenever you speak to the law, you must remember that the framers of the Constitution, which would be the legislators, they ensured that every word had meaning to them. Whatever they use, if it shall, it had meaning to them. Every word, singular plural, has meaning to them and was deliberately put there. So the president may appoint vice presidents, is plural, more than one. for the purpose of assisting him in the discharge of his functions. It's written. If somebody's not been appointed vice president yet, as soon as you made prime minister, so let's say they had appointed somebody else to be vice president. If that person was not appointed prime minister, the prime minister automatically goes above them. Okay? So you don't have to say the prime minister is vice president. The moment he is appointed or she's appointed prime minister, that person is automatically the first vice president. That is the law of your country. The prime minister is automatically the first vice president. The prime minister is considered a minister because, of course, prime or chief minister. The chief of all ministers is the prime minister. Now, therefore, every other vice president has to be below the prime minister because every vice president is a minister, but not the chief minister. The chief of all ministers is the prime one. So Bharat Jagdeo cannot be prime minister because if he were, then he'd be able to be president. He can't be president again, which is why they wanted to have a two-thirds majority in the House Assembly so they can really rid us of that law and put Bharat back like Vladimir Putin. But it's not going to happen. Now, because of that fact, due to that fact, and it being irrefutable, Bharat Jagdeo has decided, or Irfan decided, listen, we have to create a term for you to make you feel a little more important than you are, which is that you're now the vice president. He cannot be the vice president. Every vice president in Guyana has to be a minister. That is the law. You're not considered above a minister. So if you're Minister of Agriculture, you are Vice President. Minister of Health, you are, let's say that person's appointed Vice President, you're Vice President, who's the Minister of Health. You're one of the Vice Presidents. You're not the Vice President. Now you're all going to listen to this nonsense. Go along with it. Play along with this childish, stupid game. Just because you want to stand in the House of Assembly and sound important, he's not the Vice President. And I know the Ford Ghana movement has already done so, refer to him as Bharat Jagdeo because that's who he is. And we are very quick to correct anybody who wants to say otherwise. Okay? So let us bear that in mind. As I said, I would more than likely be with you again this evening because you have some other matters to discuss. But I wanted this to be clear today. Very clear. There is nothing called the vice president, and I showed you it in law. I thank you, and I'll see you again shortly.